Board of Supervisors meeting is Tuesday, December 10th. Kylie, could you please take the roll?
Supervisor Howard?
Here.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Here.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Here.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Here.
Chair Cowan?
Here. At this time, please join me. Oh, we'll take a moment of reflection. And if you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to take introductions of new employees. Do we have any new employees at this time? No? Okay. Council, do you have anything to report out of closed session?
No reportable action.
Thank you. At this time, I'm requesting deletions, corrections, or additions from board members in order to add an item at this time. The matter must have come to the attention of the county subsequent to the posting of the agenda, and the matter will require action before the next meeting in January. Anything, gentlemen? I have one item. Do you want to talk about it?
The chair had requested that we have an urgency item related to a request of a constituent dealing with the issue of the California Interscholastic Federation possibly moving the playoff or the state championship game to Humboldt County instead of leaving it in Del Norte County, and it is under discussion as I understand it. I don't have a lot of information, but it would be a letter from the board outlining the concerns of the community as well as the potential impact on the community from a standpoint of visitors as well as revenue for the CIF.
All right, so we're just looking for
I'd make the motion to
All right.
add.
I second.
did you have something to say, Liz? You wanted to
I
chime
just
in?
wanted to say that, it has to be the two votes. One, that it arose after the posting of the agenda and needs to be dealt with.
And then we'll take up the
and
vote
then
itself.
take up the item.
So the first motion and second is to place it today, to send a letter of
Yes.
support to CIF. I got a motion and a second, Kylie?
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. So I'm just going to go ahead and take up the matter right now and looking for a motion for a letter of support.
Madam Chair, if I may, I did speak with Superintendent Harris at length about this morning, and he sent me a note on this particular issue. If I could read that into the record.
absolutely.
It
Go
might
for it.
help direct our conversation, because there's a lot of rumor and innuendo going on out there right now. The center of the argument had to do with the liability to players on the wet field and potentially breaking a leg was the issue that was being pushed by the other school. But Superintendent wrote to me this morning, said, the only concern with this next series of storms coming in over the next few days, whether or not the field will be safe for students to play on. At this point, there is no plan to move the game. However, if the center of the field gets too soft and could pose a risk to breaking a leg, the game will have to be moved. If moved, it will be held at Humboldt State University. To prevent it, we are bringing in giant tarps today to cover the center of the field where the major issue is. We won't truly know until tomorrow afternoon or even Thursday morning whether or not the field will be safe to play. CIF, which is the association that deals with this, has already said their intent is not to move the game unless absolutely necessary. That was his statement this morning.
Okay.
So I would make a motion that we send a letter in support of not moving it unless absolutely necessary.
I would second that.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Any further comment? Any public comment on this issue? Seeing none, Kylie?
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. Great.
Chair,
Yes.
in regards to item number 12, we received some information that came from the Chief Probation Officer, and we would propose pulling that item at this time until we can address some of the concerns.
Okay, so item number 12 on the consent agenda will be pulled at this time. Okay, Supervisor Berkowitz, would you like to start us off on reports?
Sure. So last night was a wonderful occasion for the city, the county, the harbor district, where we hosted the Japanese delegation to a reception and dinner in honor of their arrival here. We really appreciate it. They will be spending the next several days fact-finding in the various ways of cooperation with our two areas. Last week, along with Supervisors Cowan and Howard, I attended the California State Association of Counties. This is a conference in San Francisco. There were many interesting sessions, including a section on connecting California's communities on emergency communications. The most interesting was a discussion on how to communicate with citizens when the power is down. Another interesting topic was the topic of county supervisors when there's no public information officer available for any kind of county emergency. Another session was the California County Roundtable, where many supervisors talked about innovative programs they had going in their counties. Along with Supervisor Cowan, I attended the CSAC proposed ad hoc committee on a regional approach to the cannabis situation. Supervisor Hemmingson and I attended the future facilities meeting where we discussed transfer to Sunset Circle and also upgrades to the reception area at the gymnasium. Yesterday, I spent some time on the phone with the National Association of Counties, strategizing on how we can get the Secure Rural Schools and Communities Act passed in Congress and signed by the President. This is important if the county is to get more funds to fix our roads and the school district is to get funds to make critical improvements. And yesterday, Supervisor Gitlin and I attended the local agency formation district where we discussed SB 929 that will require all special districts to have websites. We also discussed the special district recruitment and also set the meetings for the next upcoming year. And that's my report, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Howard?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. It's been a busy couple weeks with holidays around. Still managed to stay extremely engaged in various activities, both on the federal and state side and on the county side, looking after constituent concerns on many levels. Obviously, as we discussed, the football game became one of those items that became a high level of concern being moved, and I'm glad we addressed it this morning. The Heritage Trout Program, both Supervisor Hemmingson and I have been dealing with now for the past 4 years. It basically designates waters along the south fork of the Smith River. In 2016, this board, as you recall, took up the item and deliberated at great length on whether or not to have heritage trout designation on that river, which we decided to move forward with that designation to help the cause of tourism. But it was conditional on giving us a plan. And that plan was a management plan for the Smiths so we could see how private property rights would be impacted. In 2017, they foregoed returning to us with a plan, but they also, in addition, added another section of stream without us knowing. And so we were pretty upset about this. They just approached us 3 weeks ago and said, we're going to plan on adding another section. It's going to be added tomorrow at the Fish and Game Commission meeting. So Supervisor Hemmingson and I took some action, sat down with many people from Fish and Wildlife and had this discussion that the proper communication with the county has not been taking place. I made a trip to Sacramento during CSAC to communicate this directly to the Deputy Director, who believes very strongly that our position is correct and accurate and does not blame us for making any move we make here today to move forward with maybe a position that would not approve or authorize the commission to move forward with this designation. I also attended CSAC, as Supervisor Berkowitz had indicated. The meeting was extremely productive this year. I want to concentrate on just a couple items that I think the board needs to be focused on here in the near future. One was a presentation given at our Finance Committee, Policy Committee meeting specific to split roles. And I'd like to ensure that we have discussion about this in the future. It is a concern for the rural caucus in particular that split roles will pretty much drain our coffers of the general fund here at the county. The rural caucus members suggested that we discuss at great length with our assessor on their projections or modeling, if it has taken place, on how, if legislation does pass for split roles, how it might impact our general fund, and look forward to that. Many counties have started doing that process. I suggest this board move quickly on determining whether or not these impacts, as other rural counties have seen them, will impact our general fund revenues. Talked a great deal about infrastructure coming up. As you're aware, on the federal side, as both Supervisor Cowan and Hemmingson have done a great deal of discussion around federal highways legislation moving forward, specific to John Garamendi, a Democrat out of California, on federal highway emergency relief program funding that in particular has been funding for the last decade plus last chance grade and those repairs to keep that alignment in place until we could have an alternative route. Right now, under H.R. 3193 that Mr. Garamendi sponsors, it looks like that's going to be included in a broader infrastructure package that the President and the administration are currently proposing. As Supervisor Berkowitz mentioned, Secure Rural Schools Act continues to be threatened by ongoing discussions. There is currently a coalition of most Western senators to push forward tier reauthorization of our SRS in the House and in the Senate. Hopefully we'll get some traction on that very soon. I wanted to briefly touch on a meeting that both Supervisor Hemmingson and I attended with Caltrans most recently on Highway 197, 199. As you're aware, we've been trying to get this back on track as it's been held up in litigation for well over a decade now. There's critical improvements that need to be made, and working with both Caltrans and those in concern, particularly the litigants in this case, Center for Biological Diversity, Friends of Del Norte, and EPIC. We hope to come up with a compromise type solution that will get this highway back on track and that project back on track, that will get us some movement and the necessary repairs so there is no further loss of life on that highway. Been working a great deal with the California Farm Bureau on advocating new rules around immigration that are being proposed through House legislation. That'll be on our agenda for discussion today. I did have a long conversation while in Sacramento with them, and I would like to share some of that information today when we have that discussion. We also made a model for our region through North Coast Regional Air Quality Unified Management District for how prescribed fire is going to be used as a tool to manage fuels in our forests. This is a big deal for us. Air quality, you would think, is not an agency that oversees fire, but in reality it does. It especially when you go to manage your forest and you do it through fuels management and prescribed burns. It's been a very difficult wrestling match because there's all kinds of laws and regulation in place on how to manage not only fire, but the air quality associated with fire. We took necessary steps to ensure that managing our forest through prescribed burns doesn't impact those private parties that want to do it in an effective, efficient method, but are prohibited either by regulation or the cost of doing this prescribed burns, which are prohibitive. And the Air Quality Management District created this model and most recently waived all the fees associated with doing these prescribed burns, at least for the next 5 years, to encourage private property owners and federal owners to manage their lands effectively to reduce wildfire risk. And that's all I have to report at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Howard. Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes, I have a very brief report. I took some time off to reconnect with family out of town in Southern California. I do want to add, on our LAFCO meeting yesterday, Mayor Inscore delivered an important information regarding the current fee structure for the 58 counties who have a LAFCO board, commission, and they'll be done on a per head basis. So in the case of Del Norte County, we pay a very low fee. It'll be $1,000 plus a per head cost of I think something in the neighborhood of $1,063 a year. And it's a graduating scale up to about $10,000 and then per cost per head for someone like Los Angeles County. So that was the major thing. Of course, we had a canceled Redwood Coast Transit meeting, did participate in Thanksgiving activities at the fairgrounds, very enjoyable. Angie and I do that every year. And that's my brief report. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Henderson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We started off after the board meeting, meeting with road department staff and others, along with Supervisor Howard on Wonder Stump Road. While we weren't in any kind of decision-making, the issues with the road were pointed out, pictures and things like that. On the 12th, there is a public meeting that's coming up. I believe it's at the fire hall. So if you're of interest on Wonder Stump Road, please attend that meeting. Had a conference call. I'm part of the Forest Management Task Force. So the northern region has put together some priorities, which Del Norte County is actually working through our Smith River Collaborative, so we really don't have any projects, but kind of feeling that out to see how that's going, so I'm keeping an eye on that. I also had some Dungeness crab issues, adaptive management plans for the ramp, which is the risk assessment mitigation plan. We have some rulemaking to come up with, so we've been working on that quite a little bit. As Supervisor Berkowitz said, we had a future facilities meeting, so I won't go into that. As Supervisor Howard mentioned, we've been working with Caltrans, and we had a meeting with EPIC, representative from EPIC and Friends of Del Norte, to see if we could maybe move something forward. And I would like to thank Supervisor Howard for bringing that forward and kind of corralling all the people involved and moving this forward, and hopefully together we can push something that will help the community. I sat in on an RCD meeting, had the opportunity to go to the 49er Green Bay game in Santa Clara. Had a great time. Of course, the 49ers won, so that's always good. My daughter has, because of her husband, my son-in-law, who is from Wisconsin, is a Green Bay fan, and now she has taken my grandkids to the dark side. So anyway, we had a great time. It was a good time, and of course, 49ers won, so we're great with that.
Better time.
Had more risk assessment conference calls. The crab season is about to open, so it's very tenuous, so we are looking very closely at that. Right now in the Bay Area or District 10, crab season is going to open on the 15th, and up here it's not going to open until at least January 1st. So working on that. Had Thanksgiving with family and friends in McLeod, California. As was mentioned by Supervisor Howard, we had a Natural Resource Goal Committee, and along with the Heritage Trout designation, we had discussions on the Smith River National Recreation Area expansion into Oregon. And so that discussion is going to continue, and we also discussed the next steps for the boat launch at Saxton, or the Saxton boat launch off of Fred Haight Drive. I filled in for agenda review since Supervisor Cowan was at CSAC. I had an issue that I had to take care of here, so I was not able to go to CSAC this year. Had a local transportation commission meeting where we accepted the audit, where there were no findings. We exercised a contract with Green Dot Transportation Solutions, and we had one small amendment to our overall work program. Continued on, had several more risk assessment calls. I would like to congratulate the Warriors on their huge win, and hopefully we will see them playing at Mike Whalen Field this Saturday, or Friday, excuse me, Friday night. I'm looking forward to that. Huh?
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
Says Friday at 7:30 in the paper. Saturday at 6 p.m. now, so I am, okay, that's cool. And as Supervisor Howard, we did meet with Caltrans. They came up from Eureka. They enjoyed the drive. Was out at the airport when the Japanese contingent came in, and also was with them at dinner last night. Great to see them all here again. It's always good to have that kind of participation at the airport, where there was a lot of people that showed up to welcome them. And then again, the elected officials, most of the elected officials were at the dinner last night. And that's it for me.
Thank you. After our last meeting, I went out to Gail and Ellery West's business up in Crescent City. Had no idea of the size of their operation of Organic Essence up there and what they're doing. It was quite interesting to tour their facility and get to know them and what they're doing here locally. Had a juvenile justice meeting, attended a homeless training that the school district put on. It was quite interesting and very informative. Had a homeless meeting with the sheriff, county council, the DA, CDD, code enforcement, health and human services. It was a really productive meeting, just bringing all the forces together and taking care of some certain issues. Had a follow-up with Dominic yesterday on that, so things are moving forward. We had a solid waste authority meeting. I was able to spend Thanksgiving with my whole family here at home, which hasn't happened in about 4 years, so it was really nice. Went to CSAC, as was mentioned. For me, CSAC is a little bit longer. I always show up the day before for the women's events. We have our regular annual meeting along with our forum and usually a reception. I was thankful that this year CSAC did registration on Monday and acknowledged that the women's meetings are inclusive to that, because usually they don't start until the next day. We do all our stuff on Monday and then the next day the convention starts. So that was something we talked about last year, and they did it, which I thought was really good, really nice. After the forum, Cassandra Walker-Pye spoke with an understanding of science and unconscious bias. I think the whole theme seemed to be about bias and adversity this week, or last week as it was. Attended a really good meeting on foster care. I always seem to lean towards those meetings. Anything with children homeless and foster care there is always a lot of things going on, and I think all of us kind of just do different things. So had a really good one on foster care. The opening session by Nick Tazier, leading change, being a leader, and how we go forward in leading change within our own communities. Really good speaker. Had a Coastal Counties meeting. Jack Ensworth, the executive director of the Coastal Commission, was there to speak about us, and I was able to report out on a meeting that I attended in July. There were supervisors invited to be part of the Coastal Commission meeting down in San Luis Obispo this summer. And for us, the big topic is sea rise levels within the Coastal Commission. And for Del Norte County, we are not rising. I said it before, we have land lift. So as much as they're rising in San Diego is exactly the same amount that we are going down here in Del Norte County. And it's important that we know what they're doing. We don't want to get stuck with these state policies and mandates on an issue that isn't necessarily affecting us here. So I was able to speak to that at the meeting, both in San Luis Obispo this summer, but again, report out at CSAC. I attended the regional cannabis meeting that was kind of quickly put together by the CAO of Mendocino while we were all in town. She pulled together the counties of Sonoma, Mendocino, Humboldt, Del Norte, and invited Trinity and Lake. They were unable to attend, but it was basically talking about bringing back the ad hoc that they had in years past. Now that everybody is doing something, we had a lot of discussions of what's working, what's not, and to see what each other's doing. So that was good, and you'll see it on the consent agenda to officially bring that back, that ad hoc, and for Del Norte County to be part of that. At The general session, we heard from the Surgeon General, again on childhood trauma. I attended a homeless workshop where we met with BID for Union Square and toured and walked the area of San Francisco. Attended a Justice Policy Committee meeting. On the luncheon on our last day, went to that. That's when we do the election of officers. And the feature speaker was Wes Moore, again, all on addressing adversity and embracing our personal responsibilities. You know, not letting adversity so much define you, but to help make you stronger. Had an impromptu meeting with Paul Schneider and Matt Schmidt from Federal Highways. I always love seeing them, and it's always great to get input. The first thing Matt said to me is, I heard you were in DC, and I said, yeah, we had great meetings. Walked into 3 of them. They not only knew Del Norte, they knew our project, and he said, Lori, they knew you. They remembered you from last year. He says, they don't even know me there. It was good. It's nice to know that we have the attention of Washington, D.C. It's very, very, very important on this project, and to hear it from the guys in Sacramento from Federal Highways just confirmed what I felt, that we felt when we left D.C. This past fall. So that was really good. Then I stayed an extra night in in San Francisco, and was able to welcome and receive the delegation from Ruckus and Takeda. Was able to spend Saturday with them in San Francisco and Saturday night. And I always say this group's great, you know, but this group was great. You know, they seem to get better and better. We had a really good time. I drove home, raced home on Sunday to beat the plane back. So I also attended the welcoming at our airport, which was a very, very large community crowd turnout. So thank you, Del Norte County. The support of our community is really important. We had a full day. We had a speaker here in this room. Met with the whole group, and then we split off. Personally, myself, have been working with a couple other ladies on the women's empowerment piece over the last 5 months, and we were able to kick off our first group yesterday afternoon, and the engagement on both sides has been wonderful. And so we had a great afternoon, and finished it off with a wonderful, wonderful dinner. Really, again, thank you for the support of all the electeds that showed up. It was a good crowd and a really nice dinner, and a good way for all of us to talk one-on-one with the delegation that was in town. Sunday, Monday, I think that's pretty much it, other than, you know, congratulations to the Warriors, and thank you guys for indulging me and letting me put that letter of support on. I think we're all behind it. I'm glad to see that we are. And good luck to all you guys this weekend in your game, and hopefully we'll play in town. Okay, and that's it for me. So we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Do we have any public comment on consent agenda items only?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second, and I see no public comment. So at this time, Kylie?
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes, and I'm going to reemphasize again, this is consent agenda items 1 through 21 minus item number 12 that was pulled earlier in the meeting. Just want to reiterate that again. Okay, thank you for that. So we will move on to our comment period. So at this time, members of the audience may speak on anything that's within our jurisdiction when addressing the board. Please, we'll ask you to hold your comments for 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment at this time? I guess. Wow. Thank you for coming. Hi, Jesse. Good morning.
Good morning. I thought there would be a bunch of public comments right through. I just wanted to come and give some thanks and appreciation in a few areas here before the end of the year. First of all, the road crew and community development maybe, thanks for putting in so much work on Low Divide. Several people in our community express appreciation and thanks for the excellent condition of the road. Even though there's been a lot of logging, maybe that's part of the reason why there's been more money on the road. And also some of the Forest Service roads around in that neighborhood, money spent on brush clearing and road improvements, which really helps the community to feel safer and to feel more part of the community. So thank you from myself and others in the community. And also I wanted to thank the Ag Department, Chelsea and Justin and Dave for coming out, and the hemp program for making that work. And I was really happy to see that went smoothly. I think we all learned things that we need to know for next year. And it was a lot of fun. They're real professional and bent over backwards when they needed to make it happen on time. And went really well. So thanks. And then maybe the Sheriff's Department I can thank for didn't see any helicopters that were in any kind of low or annoying range. It was a real pleasant, quiet summer, and that's real good. It makes me feel like I can farm naked whenever I want, and that really improves my quality of life. So I want to express appreciation for that. And but I also have sort of a heavy heart about national events, and I want better for our community. And I think there's a real danger of national division infecting our community in a way that's not productive. And I don't know what that looks like exactly, how we get around that, but I know it involves cooperation and collaboration for sure. So thanks to this board for working to make that happen. And it's a good segue. I brought something to keep you from getting rusty over the break. I have 5 copies of this book here, and hopefully you all have a copy already and have read it. It's called Nonviolent Communication by the late Dr. Marshall B. Rosenberg. And he has lots of videos and seminars on YouTube that he's done over the years that really helps to solidify and make real what the book is about. So I recommend watching them. And please read the book. I would appreciate it. And I'll just read it on the cover here. If violent means acting in ways that result in hurt or harm, then much of how we communicate could indeed be called violent communication. Words matter. And this book's about how to find common ground with anyone, anywhere, at any time, both personally and professionally. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for your words and your support. It's nice to have our departments recognized because they all do work hard, and it's nice for the public and for yourself to acknowledge that. So thank you from us and from our departments.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, Jesse.
Any other public comment? Good morning.
Morning. So, I have some surprising revelations. First, I would like to ask the board to eliminate the distance between storefronts, lifting a very restrictive zoning for operating more and opening more possibilities for more storefronts for cannabis retail. I'd like to wish everybody good morning and hope they had a good Thanksgiving. It was I that had to come and point out the monopoly that was created, not on purpose, by the cannabis stores. Today I come before you to present my findings concerning the zoning ordinance. In accordance to commercial cannabis storefronts and the distance between schools and after conducting an extensive investigation into the matter of a church school located at 1770 North Crest Avenue, known as the Seventh-day Adventist Church, it has been revealed and determined that they are not an accredited school recognized by the government agencies. According to my findings in the Department of Education, the Seventh-day Adventist Church is in fact not an accredited school. And I quote, "The Adventist Accrediting Association of Seventh-day Adventist Church Schools, AAA, is an education educational accreditation body operated by the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventists. Accreditation by the body is not academic accreditation, and it is not recognized by government-recognized accreditors. End quote. My state and legal and licensed storefront was and is in full compliance with state regulations concerning distance between cannabis retail and government-recognized accredited schools. The nearest government-accredited school is over 3,000 feet away for my licensed legal cannabis retail storefront. It has been in full accordance with state law for over 11 years under Medical Proposition 215, and also in full accordance with Proposition 64 for distances. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is once again not an accredited school recognized by government, period. The planning department, yes, the planning department, who overlooked the Sticky Grove being close to the juvenile hall, which, mind you, is a state-recognized school, ordered the compliant Redwood Coast Collective Patient Resource Center to close its door due to county's new zoning ordinance, when actually, and factually, it is not in violation of county zoning and ordinance. RCC Patient Research Center should, in all fairness, immediately be able to gain county approval, making it able to be approved by state and obtain its required licenses to operate in this county. I will be here for public comment. After that, I will be going immediately to the planning department and requesting a Freedom of Information Act to determine who was the one that determined that school is the criteria of a school. I'm turning that over to my legal counsel. Thank you, and have a good Christmas.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we're going to move on to our next scheduled item, which is a presentation discussing ongoing relationships with our sister city of Rickenson-Toccoa. Good morning. Come on up. Please join us.
Honorable Madam Chair, Honorable Supervisors, ladies and gentlemen, also the Honorable member of citizens of the Delaware County. Good morning. My name is Kiyoshi Murakami. I'm a special representative of Mayor and also senior executive advisor to the city of Rickenson-Toccoa. This is a great honor for me to be here in front of chamber and also a member of the supervisors to be able to explain and also present our relationships. Now, I'm sorry, my voice is a little bit of trouble because I had a little bit of a cold, I think. So, sister city of strong resilience, that's my, I don't know if this English is correct, but I just want to show that we have a strong commitment and a strong bonded relationship. Next one, please. I'm going to go through that.
On your right,
okay.
mouse right there.
Okay.
You can click
right.
through.
Good. So I'm going to go through a number of photos showing that what actually happens in Rickenson-Toccoa, March 2011, by the tsunami disaster. And then also from that, how we recovered and reconstruct, and how we develop the city. And then through that experience and also the consequences actually created our relationship. And then that relationship has been how we developed this relationship and also for the future. Okay, thank you. So here, now I think it's maybe some of you are first time to see where the city of Rikuzen Takata is. You see that Japan and here the Tokyo is probably 300 miles north from Tokyo. This is the area called Iwate Prefecture. And under the Iwate Prefecture, this is the south edge of the Iwate Prefecture. There's a coastal line here. So you can see here, we also have crescent area. That's our area in my city. See, this is before tsunami happens. We had a 70,000 pine tree forest, and then as well as the beaches. They're very beautiful beaches, and then also we have a number of tourists actually visited, probably about 1 million visitors per year for the tourism. Now, 2011 March, we had a tsunami, as you know, and I understand that you also have the devastated damages here in the harbor as well. But this is before the tsunami happens. Now this shows after that earthquake happens. So we actually, our city hit by the scale of 9.0 earthquake. But that was it says 3:10 p.m. But earthquake happens 2:46. So this is after the earthquake. However, you see that the buildings were unharmed. So a number of the Japanese buildings were quite ready for any type of the earthquakes happens. So that's the reason why the building is okay. The question is tsunami. We actually had 5.5 meters high, probably about the 30 feet high. No, I would say 20 feet high. The seawall behind the pine tree forest. But the tsunami actually came over to this seawall itself. So some number of people were reluctant to evacuate until that actual tsunami actually came in, because they said they felt that this is okay. It's not going to happen. Tsunami is not going to be coming in this much. But tsunami actually came, and also not only came. This is a much higher tsunami than expected. So some people, you can see on the photos, some people try to get out at this time because they were reluctant to escape from beginning. We had 30 minutes period before the tsunami reached. So they could have saved their life if they escaped way before. So this is 3:26, 1 minute. Within 4 minutes, whole city was completely covered by tsunami itself. This is everything is gone. By the way, this photo was taken from backyard, higher landscape of Takata High School. Now, this is also from inside of the city. From inside of the city, this is the fire station. We actually had 3-story fire stations. And the firefighters were actually, some of them actually taking, basically dispatched. But some people were inside of a fire station. They took the photos. Almost the same timing. Now from here, there's a video. So it says, The number of firefighters were in this building, but they had to go up to not roof is not enough, so they had to go up to the tower of the communication tower. So they were on the tower and survived on the tower overnight. So they took during the incident. Here still they are taking the photos. All of area is completely. This is the floor of the third floor. It's completely covered by the tsunami itself. So whole area of the city, as you can see, the area is wherever you see covered by tsunami itself. And then the highest height of the tsunami itself was about the 17 meters high. So that is the 50 feet high. Yeah, more than 50 feet. So everywhere is completely destroyed, wiped out by tsunami itself. So this is the city hall of Rikuzen Takada, where we actually had 400 employees in the city, 400 officials in the city office. Among those, 111 people passed away. I mean, they died, victimized. And then number of people tried to get up on the roof. You can see the people in the roof, including Mayor Toba himself. He was just elected 3 weeks before these things happens. And by this, he lost his wife. So there are a number of victims, and then also the number of we had almost 1,800 people's lives gone by this tsunami, and 13,000 people displaced from the house. As you see here, one tree, pine tree, was left, which is now symbolic of the resilience and also rebuilding and reconstruction of the city. Not only Rikuzen Takada, whole area of the northern part of Japan uses this symbol for our reconstructions. That's the reason why this became our symbol of the city now. So, so as I mentioned, this is a casualty, just statistics. Almost 1,800 people's the loss of life, 13,500 displaced people, and then also 4,000 houses, or households, I would say. Households lost their houses. But if you're talking about the buildings, all of the public facilities gone, except one facilities. That was the lunch preparation facility. That was left. So that became the headquarters for the emergency operations by the city. So over 10,000 buildings basically gone. So this is the same night at the emergency shelter, because this is I would say the ad hoc shelter, because we had a designated shelter. However, that designated shelters were also wiped out. So we had to create new shelter. This is the auditorium of the schools. So auditorium of schools became the ad hoc shelter for all of the schools, so that we can gather those people who lost the houses. So this shelter became kind of their home for at least 3 months. Longest one is 6 months, until the temporary housings were built. We also we did receive a lot of supports, not only within Japan, but also from outside of Japan. The supplies, water supplies, food supplies, any materials, and so forth. This is the temporary housings. We still have temporary housings using at this moment. Almost 200 households are living in the temporary housing at this moment. Now change to subject to development, how we developed our city. First, we actually concerned what is the most important thing, is that we really wanted to have our city to be built much better than before. So that's the Build Back Better concept we used. And then also a resilient city. We want to have the city to be strong against any type of disaster. And that is the basis. And then also, most importantly, inclusiveness and accessibility for the city is very important. So no one is left behind. That's the concept we use. So this actually turned into that also the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. So that is the, I'm wearing this funny circled badge. This is the 17 goals actually showing by the United Nations. So that we are collaborating with UN on this development as well. So, so this is also using not only our concept, but also actual project at the development of the city itself. So inclusiveness and accessibility projects, this project has been recognized by the Japanese government, Prime Minister's office, just July this year, to be a model of the project for the entire Japan. So this is now becoming our projects, and being, of course, there are a number of the obstacles that we face, but we are actually encouraged and promoted to be a frontliner of the project for the development of the rural area. Center of Excellence on Disaster Management. This is very important for us. Also, not only the tsunami disasters, but also a number of the different types of disasters we actually face these days, in not only Japan, but also worldwide. So this is the only reason why also we collect everybody's ideas to give lectures, give simulation programs, how we evacuate, how we protect, how we prevent the casualties, and also save life. So those type of the programs we actually conduct in the city. The number of people come into that to run the programs, including students from California, like Stanford University's students, as well as the Kennedy School of Harvard University. They come to the city to learn all those. Tourism from inside and outside of Japan, that is also a major industry that we actually are putting on. So of course, not only the disaster management is also part of the tourism, but there are a number of the how to say, hidden assets Inrix and Tagada has. For instance, we actually produced the gold from 9th century, which was delivered to China and to buy the sutras. So 3 tons of gold delivered to China, which was introduced by Marco Polo by the name of the Far East Journal. That was also run by the Columbus, and Columbus tried to come to the Golden Country, tried to find Japan, but found Americas. So so I would say the current America, it actually comes from the cause of Inrix and Tagada, I guess.
Interesting.
Very interesting,
Yeah.
I know. But this is a type of the story that somebody can say. But anyway, those type of the stories also being discussed in Japan. And then finally, new businesses with innovation and international relations. This is a very big for us. New innovative businesses we created. We have been working on a number of businesses. And then also international relations means that the relationship with the here in Delaware County, Crescent City. This is a very important relationship that for us to be business development. Now, back to the construction. This is the whole city. We created a tsunami memorial park, and then also entire city is being wiped out, so that the area reached by the tsunami cannot be used for the residential area. So that we should not use, anybody can live, so that we had to create new residential area on the higher area. So on the blue circled area is the higher residential area that we created later on. And then also, because it was not enough for us to have that residential area, so that we had to elevate the entire city, which is circled by the yellow. So we elevated almost the 30 feet, I guess. Yeah, 30 feet high. All entire city is being elevated, and then now we created a new city over there. And then also Tsunami Memorial Park, which is not elevated, but actually cleaned up everywhere. And then we created the Tsunami Memorial Park. And then also created we started working on the creation of the pine forest again. This time not 70,000, but 40,000 pine trees. Now, as I said, no one is left behind. We are working on a number of the people with special needs for them to also study and also work for the future. Here's about Build Back Better. Inclusive communities, para sports is now getting strong for us, using para sports as one of our businesses. Also, universal design of the town. This is in order for us to create the universal design for any facilities, we use the number of people who have the special needs to come into the planning. Also, creation of new industries like pecan nuts we are working on as well. And then also development of the international friendship with the from here is very important for our creation of businesses as well. So as I said, the sustainable development goals is very important. Now change to the subject to our relationship here, how we started. As you may know, it shows that one training board of the high school wiped out by tsunami in 2011. As you see here, you can see this is the shore of the Rikuzen Takada, Hirota Peninsula. This boat was just taken away by the tsunami itself. Somebody took this photo, by accident, I guess. This was existed, and then this was 2 years later, 5,000 miles away, reached to a California beach here in Crescent City. So this was found, and then this became this kick off the relationship first. I know the Delano High students try to send it back. I know they actually conducted a number of the fundraising programs. And then from there, Delano High and the Takada High started the exchange programs. And then they actually exchanged the sister school agreement. That was February 2017. Right after this, I understand that delegation from here visited to Rikuzen Takada. 1 year after, actually. So we had, this is in Rikuzen Takada, we had a gathering together with the citizens and also upper girls dancing together. And then, so that's this was very, very significant for City of Rikuzen-Tagara, and also Mayor Inscore's presentation as the City Chamber was also very emotional ones. So that made us move for us to organize that our visit here in April 2018, last year. And then at that time, we organized that the exchange that the sister city agreement by signing by the both chairman and also both chairmen and also mayor. And then this was actually in English version. So we also had to do the Japanese version that was conducted in Japan with your delegation to Rikuzen-Tagara. And then this year, early this year, we sent off the teachers. I was together with them to visit it here to learn how the school is working on. And also together with the Deputy Mayor Okamoto and myself were among the delegation. And then July this year, we received a business delegation to Rikuzen-Tagara, and we had a very, very significant moment to introduce new Kamome ale to the citizens of Rikuzen-Tagara, which was very well received. And so that's it triggers our business development from now on. Now, future joint business project, which has been discussing, and also this afternoon we are going to discuss about the project. Not only the beers and cheeses, but also fisheries products, which has been taking place already. Education exchange programs, we have been talking with the Jeff Harris on these particular issues. Development of joint tourism programs, this has been also discussing with a number of the members here. So this is a very bright, and also we have a strong hope for the future with for the both communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kiyoshi. Really appreciate that wonderful presentation. That video does not get any easier to watch. You know, it's just as hard to watch it today as it was the first time. Any questions or comments from the board for Kiyoshi? No? We all know Chris likes to
I'd be
talk.
reluctant to, be reluctant not to comment at this time. Kiyoshi, we've been friends for many years now, and as Supervisor Cowan stated, the story doesn't get any easier to listen to. But we remember that it is without that story, we would not be friends today. Mm-hmm. And it's not just myself, it's our entire community now. And we have lessons to learn from you and Rikuzen-Takara, and Rikuzen-Takara, as you're doing this week, has lessons to learn from us, as initiated by the U.S. Embassy of the United States of America to bring 35 delegates here this week to study specifically those practices that allow for inclusion of those that are disabled, and to teach those trauma-informed practices that are so necessary for those that have lived through trauma, more specifically the tsunami and those that have lost life. We have a lot to learn from Rikuzen-Takara, and your message today, I really appreciate you sharing that with us. The more we discuss this and the future of our two communities, the more I believe we will build a stronger community together, not only for Crescent City and Del Norte County, Rikuzen-Takara, but also the world as a model community moving forward. Thank you again for your time and presentation.
Thank you very much. And then also I brought some of the gift, Shima-chan gift. Yeah. Actually, I was together with the Shima Yoshida. She works for the city office. She, お土産ちょっと見せて. Sorry, in Japanese.
No, that's fine. Get used to it.
We brought the for the all the This is a Yukiko. It's a Japanese sake with, I don't know, it's appropriate to present in this chamber, but
You can give them to Kylie, and she will make sure that everybody at this dais gets one.
and then also for the county of Del Norte, I brought the, this is a special gift to,
Lori, please receive it.
yeah, chamber. This is the,
We'll go to Chris and we'll turn to Jessica. Thank you again, Kiyoshi, and for bringing the whole delegation. Again, I can't say every time a new delegation comes, I always say, these guys are great. You know, they just keep getting better. It's more, I don't know, the ties are just getting closer. And so thanks. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to some general government. We got item 24. Introduced by title only, an ordinance repealing certain chapters of the Del Norte County Code relating to borrow boys, the Department of Central Services and general penalties. Number 2, waive further reading. Number 3, set a hearing on January 14th, 2020 to adopt the ordinance. And 4, designate county council to prepare a summary of the ordinance. Publication as requested by county council. Can I add anything?
No, basically, we are doing a review of some of our ordinances, and that's kind of an ongoing process for our office. So there will be more repeals and more ordinances coming forward in the next couple of months. January, we'll see some more. Basically, these ones are fairly simple ones to take off the top since they are out of date at this point.
Okay, so we're just doing an introduction. You don't need any
We do need a vote
vote
on it,
Okay,
yes.
so I'll take.
I would move to introduce by title only, waive the further reading, set a hearing, and designate county council to prepare a summary.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any public comment on item number 24? Seeing none, Kylie?
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. Moving on to item 25, approve and adopt a resolution to set tax rates for cannabis retail and manufacturing within the range that approved by the voters in Measure B for calendar year 2020 as requested by the treasurer tax collector. Do you want to speak to this? Does anybody need any further information from Barbara? I think we're good. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any what?
We got to set it.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
We have to set it. So do we want
I
to keep
thought
it
we-
the same?
Okay.
Annually, we are, you're tasked with deciding what the rate should be for retail and manufacturing.
So it doesn't
between-
automatically stay where it was? Okay.
no.
Sorry, I
That's
apologize.
okay.
My misunderstanding, Barbara. I would move to approve then. I'd recall my previous motion that didn't state the nature of that and propose to leave it at its current rate.
Okay, so I have a motion to leave it where at its current rate. Do you still agree with that?
Yeah, I
Supervisor
just
Gitlin?
clarify, this is at 6% and 3% respectively?
Correct.
6 and 3, 6 for the retail and 3 for the cultivation? I keep my second.
Okay. Any public comment on item 25?
Hi, Robert with the county.
Good morning.
I was, I think maybe the manufacturing, logically, we don't have any manufacturers here. So we would lose nothing to set that at 1%. And you might attract a manufacturer. I think 6%, as a cannabis consumer myself and looking at the people who use cannabis, I think 6% is high for retail. So it ends up being about $3 on a vape cartridge or whatever, And, but the manufacturing, for sure, I just don't see the county losing anything by setting the manufacturing at 1%, and there might be a potential gain of GDP gain and jobs and that sort of thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, Kylie?
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. Okay, at this time, we're going to adjourn as the Board of Supervisors and reconvene as a Board of Equalization and call applications 2017-002, 2017-003, 2017-004, and adopt applicants' opinion of the valuation on the APM 117-092-013 and 117-092-14, 117-092-15 under the operation of law as requested by the clerk of the board and county council. Do you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add to that. The board report goes into explanation. If you have any questions about it, let me know.
Any questions from the board?
Move to approve.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none. Kylie?
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. We'll adjourn as a Board of Equalization and reconvene as a Board of Supervisors and discuss and take possible action on paying membership dues to join the Coast Walk California Trail Association as requested by Supervisor Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, both you and I attended the Coastal Communities meeting that you, I know we're filling in for Supervisor Hemmingson at. At that meeting, for lack of a better term, we may have been strong-armed a little by Greg Cox from NACO to re-engage our membership with the other coastal counties to help promote the trail that currently is within our own backyard. As you're aware, both Supervisor Berkowitz and Supervisor Gitlin and myself did several walks here this past year in recognition of construction of this trail within the coastal zone. It's gotten a great deal of publicity, but besides the great deal of publicity, the membership dues associated with us being a member of this coastal trail are actually fairly insignificant, about $750. I'm not sure what lapse took place for us to fall out of being a member of the Coastal Trails program, but I would propose at this time, and as requested through this agenda, suggest that we become members again, as it's a fairly moderate amount, and hope that we could secure those dollars through direction to staff within our contingency budget, if that's an area that staff feels is appropriate to take those funds of $750 from.
Is that a motion, sir?
Yeah, and I'll make that a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment on item 27? Seeing none. Kylie?
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. Okay, moving on to budget transfers. We have item 28, 29, 30, 31.
Yeah, Madam Chair, move to approve budget transfer 11-10, 11-11, 11-12, 11-13.
Second that motion.
Great, I have a motion and a second. Do I have any public comments on items 28, 29, 30, or 31 on these budget transfers? Come on up, Ms. Sutter. Good morning.
Good morning, Linda Sutter, County. I didn't see what this number 28 was all about, and I'd like for you guys to elaborate on it, because it was not mentioned, I mean, it was very vague in general in the documents. Thank you.
Any comment on that? No? It just says trailer, and I mean, we all know what it's for. I don't know how much more we want to,
Sure you can.
do you want to?
It's fairly straightforward, though.
Right,
It's
I thought so,
described.
but I saw Kimmy there, and I'm sure she's excited about it, so maybe
My
she'll
tail's
share with
wagging,
us.
sure.
Yeah.
Basically, I submitted a grant to Co-Central Credit Union a while back for a trailer to do preparedness outreach within our community. And so, we have a number of volunteer groups, such as Disaster Animal Response Team, Community Emergency Response Team. We have our new CISM team, which is Critical Incident Stress Management. And so all these groups really like to engage our public. We love for them to engage our public and educate them, and also hopefully recruit more volunteers. And right now it's a little difficult for them to do that easily. The materials are distributed in different offices. Somebody's got to go gather all those up. They have to load them into something. They have to haul them somewhere. They have to borrow tables. Basically, this is a trailer that's going to have tables, lighting, a tent, different things to help us out to make that real easy. So everything will be in one place. We can just hook up the trailer, take it to where it needs to go, and communicate with our public.
Excellent, and thanks for reaching out and doing that grant for us.
Absolutely. Thanks to Co-Central Credit Union for providing it to us.
We'll tell them thank you next time we see them. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Kylie?
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. Leads us to legislative and budget issues. Number 32, consider sending a letter of opposition to the California Department of Fish and Game Commission. This was requested by Community Development Department. Heidi, you want to talk to this?
Actually, it was at the request of the Natural Resources Goal Committee. I am available to answer any questions, but I believe Supervisors Hemmingson and Howard may want to speak to it because they have been involved in it.
Yeah,
like
sure.
to take it?
I'll talk about it first if you want.
Okay,
Yeah,
great, thanks.
This basically is, they seem to keep ramrodding this stuff, over the top of us without letting us know what's going on. They're giving us short notice. They didn't even send the notice to the proper address. It actually went to Eureka, I believe, not to Del Norte County. We have no idea where the notice for some of these things have been going, so need to bring that to their attention. And also, there's not much specificity within the plans that they have designated already that clearly establish what the requirements might be for private landowners. And so the concern, at least from my point of view, is that we need to have exactly what the impacts are going to be to the community. And so I think, I don't think there's any rush to do this, so I think they just need to come back with this, with an explanation. I don't know that we have really any opposition to it at this, or that we will have opposition to it if they come to us and explain to us what the rules will be.
Great. Do you want to have anything to add, Supervisor?
I
Howard?
do. As I mentioned earlier in my board report, this item is time sensitive. It'll be appearing on the California Fish and Game Commission meeting tomorrow, the 11th, Wednesday. Depending on the board's position with this letter today, I would request that staff contact our lobbyist in Sacramento with Yoder and Lang, who I've briefly discussed that the board might take action on this today. We're going to need to personally have that delivered and read into record with the California Department of Fish and Game, depending on how the board acts.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to say that this wasn't of importance.
Yeah.
That part of it was, it is important that we send our letter of opposition. I was meaning that I don't think the designation itself has any, I don't think there's any need for that to happen right away.
Okay. So does one of you want to make a motion?
I would make that motion, Madam Chair.
And I would second.
Great, I got a motion in a second. Any public comment on item number 32? Seeing none, Kylie?
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. Number 33 is approve and authorize staff to draft a letter in support of HR 4916. Supervisor Howard, do you want to talk about that one?
Madam Chair, one of the top issues facing the state of California agriculture is the ongoing shortage of employees. Without dependable farm workforces, we all suffer from the farm to fork type movements that we're trying to create here, especially in our breadbasket known as the state of California. For many farm operations of all sizes, there has been no guarantee that there would be enough workers to meet the needs of many communities that rely on a stable workforce. Farmers have long found it next to impossible to hire domestic workers who are citizens of the U.S., even as wages increase. Because of the failings of the nation's immigration system, and through no fault of their own, workers with fraudulent documents make it more than half of the existing workforce. As you know, farmers seek to follow the law, and Bipartisan Workforce Modernization Act, which is HR 4916, which we're discussing today, offers a solution that would allow experienced workers to gain certified agricultural worker legal status after paying a fine and ensuring they have not committed any crime while here in the United States. Additionally, the bill makes significant reforms to the H-2A agricultural visa program to streamline it and make it more cost-effective for farmers. A vote on the bipartisan legislation is scheduled for this Wednesday, December 11th. And I'd like to, at this time, introduce and direct staff to write a letter to have Congressman Huffman support that legislation if possible.
One quick correction, Supervisor. 4916 was changed. The number was changed. It originally came in October 30th at 4916. It went back to Immigration and Citizenship Committee. It is now HR 5038.
Thank you for the correction, Supervisor.
That is as of November the 15th, or especially the 21st, having gone through those two committees. So if you've made that motion, I'll second that. It's a very necessary piece of legislation overdue.
I will make that motion.
Say that number again, Supervisor.
5038.
Okay, 5038, you got that,
Appreciate the
Jay?
correction and the attention to those details. I will have you know, after talking a great deal about this, at not only with the California State Association of Counties and NACO at our conference, this legislation, more than any other immigration legislation in the United States, has significant legs. There are currently 24 Democrats signed on to this legislation, and there are currently 22 Republicans signed on to this legislation, 13 of which are in the state of California, including our old friends Doug LaMalfa and Devin Nunes from the Republican side have been stalwarts on ensuring a lot of the language that has been seen in this legislation authored by Zoe Lufgren makes it forward. So thank you for that support, Supervisor Gitlin. Look forward to this passing.
Any public comment on item 33?
Oh, I don't know. I think this is a loophole. And who's going to enforce all the rules? Because this is a loophole for illegal aliens to get in. We have nothing, we don't know enough about them, and I don't see that this is going to work. And I know that California is a sanctuary state, but it's not by what all people want. You guys need to start thinking about stuff like that. Who's going to enforce those rules that is being presented? If you're going to support a bill like that and allow illegal aliens to come into our country without any thorough background, it's just paper bureaucracy is what's going on here. This is setting up more people who are on the wrong side of the law to come into our country. I don't agree with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to address Ms. Sutter's comment. The system uses the very effective, when it's used, E-Verify system. Now, E-Verify takes a social security number and runs it and then ascertains. So whether it's 4916 or now 5038, there is a need for labor needs in this field. agriculture. And all employees in this will have to qualify by having worked a number of thousands of hours during a 2-year period, a 180-day period. And then they're verified through the E-Verify system, which I have great confidence in. So I want to let you know it's not going happenstance into the wind where someone just comes in and starts working. All employers are required to use the E-Verify system. I hope you're comfortable with that.
And Madam Chair, if I may add, this is not an entry program into the United States. This is to basically cast a net to capture those that are here currently and get them registered and tracked, and then be able to remove those that aren't currently registered and tracked from the United States.
Thank you. Do I have a motion and a second on the floor? Kylie?
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. Item 34 was requested by me. It's a letter of support to the local Del Norte mission possible. Little background: for the past year, we've been working with Daphne Cortez Dean, formerly known as, she was working over at Our Daily Bread. And what has transpired over the last 9 months to a year is, through working with her, repairs have been done to the building to take it from emergency shelter to a 24-hour shelter. We're not quite completely there, but a lot further along than we were. And some other just tidbits of what's been going on since we've been working with her, and with the help of Heather and Health and Human Services, we now have services in the shelter twice a week. They're doing meals 5 days a week. We've got lockers over there for them. So all these little steps have been going on all along. And then it will be a new nonprofit is being formed again called Del Norte Mission Possible. And we're just working towards a shelter in Del Norte County. So I'm really excited about it. And it's been a great past year working with everybody. Everybody's been working together and we're getting stuff done. So I'm really excited, and I'm hoping you guys support this letter of support. Basically, the reason we're asking for it is because they are going out for more funding and stuff to do a final sprinkler system is one of the things that needs to be done, one of the final things to open. Very important that we make sure that the building is in good shape and safe and up to county code. So
I move to approve, Madam Chair.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any public comment on item 34? Seeing none, Kylie, can you please pull the vote?
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes, and thank you. Number 35, approve and authorize the chair to sign and send a letter to wireless carriers licensed to serve Del Norte. Supervisor Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I think folks are probably tired of hearing me talk, so I'm going to turn this over to CAO Serena to explain.
Thanks, Chris.
Currently, there's been some construction along Highway 199 of cell towers in Oregon and in California. And the company that is constructing those is encouraging all carriers to get involved in the use of those towers to make the entire corridor much safer than it is. We have a couple of carriers that have been reluctant to join in, and it would be nice to encourage them, because we do have some significant carriers in the county, and then we have some carriers that aren't as active, and perhaps we can get them in there. But for purposes of the Office of Emergency Services and just for safety in general for all of our first responders, it would be nice to get everybody on these towers if at all possible. They're business decisions, obviously, but we'd like to encourage them to do that.
Great. Sounds good. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Got a motion from
And I'd second that motion.
and a second. Any public comment on item 35? Seeing none. Kylie, could you please?
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes, and with that, before I adjourn the meeting, I want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Please be safe, enjoy your families and your friends, and we will see everybody in January. Meeting adjourned.